Hello and welcome back to the Get Sculpted podcast. We are in a new month, and with that, we are very excited, not just because here in Ontario we are getting closer to spring and the milder weather, but because we're kicking off something that we've actually never done on our podcast before. This episode is part one of a three-part series where we're going to walk you through our signature strength sculpting system. And this is the exact system that we take our clients through when we move them from short-term changes that never last to results and lasting transformation. And we are pretty sure that many of you listening are feeling like you keep doing these same things on repeat. You start a plan, you're motivated, you do well, but then you can't keep up, you fall off, you feel guilty, and then you restart or jump to the next new thing. That cycle is going to end here. And that's why we're so excited to get into this, aren't we, girls?
Very excited. This is going to be a good one. You're going to want to come back to these.
Definitely. So inside our strength sculpting system, there's actually a series of phases that you go through, and each one builds on the one before it. So today, it's all about the first phase, which we call the foundations phase. This is typically the first 16 to 24 weeks of your journey. The foundations phase is where everything begins. And just like the name would suggest, foundations, this phase sets the tone for everything. And honestly, I would say that this phase is actually what determines whether you build lasting results or you fall back into that same loop. And let us tell you, the reason why so many of you feel like it gets harder and harder every time you restart is because you're trying to get to this next level without building the foundation.
Yeah.
You never actually take the full journey. So today we're going to do some reframing because we need, and this is like newsflash, we need you to start looking at fat loss as the beginning, not the end. Okay. Most women go their whole lives thinking that once they reach that number on the scale, they are done. And girls, I know, and we'll talk about it in this episode, we have a lot of clients who used to think that way, but I wanted to kind of segue here. Would you say that you used to think that as well? I know that I did. I very much was conditioned to believe like, oh, I'm 115 pounds. Great, I'm done. How about you girls?
Yeah, like what was beyond fat loss? Like what was beyond meeting the number at the scale? Like absolutely nothing. And I think the industry has done such a disservice to women everywhere because the belief is like you don't continue making money off of women when they're strong, confident in their best physique possible. And so to keep them stuck and small is like, why would you teach them what's beyond fat loss? Just be like, nah, let them get there, and then we'll keep teaching them how to get back there over and over again for their whole lives. And this is where I think we're kind of like a little bit of the disruptors in this space where like we want you to have the answers. We don't want to hold on to just being able to be there ourselves and have you stay stuck. We want to give you the cheat sheet and the cheat code for how to get there and stay there long term.
I love that.
Yeah, it's very true. I thought there was always more fat to lose. And if I'm lean, but I could be leaner. And there was never really any concept to me that what is beyond that. It wasn't even the maintaining fat loss, but it's almost like I didn't understand the opposite.
Yeah.
You know, like the experiences I did have, there was also no education about that.
That's right.
Because, I'm such a believer in mentorship. So when I had coaching, it was always like, okay, we're going to do the fat loss. And I thought the fat loss phase was the whole thing.
That's right.
It was like, you see before and afters and it's fat loss. And there was no talk about like, well, what about after that? And then I think it clocked into a lot of the clients that we coach now, which I know we'll talk about, but that they've done that before, but that's not what this is about. It's about the maintenance.
That's right.
So once you not only lay down what we're going to talk about and apply it, but understand that it's not the whole journey, that's when things really shift for you.
That's right. That's the big takeaway, I think. Fat loss is not the finish line. It is the foundation. And it's where you reset your habits, patterns, beliefs, all of these things that actually have been keeping you stuck. And I love this analogy because I know we've used it with clients. Think about, if you were building a house, you're not going to start decorating all the rooms before you pour the concrete. But that's what so many women do in fitness. They jump into workouts, calorie cutting, but they have no idea what that base is that holds it all together and what comes next. So today we're digging into this foundations phase, but it is only the start because in the next 2 episodes, we are going even deeper to tell you what comes after this phase and what comes after on the other side of dieting, a place that I'm going to say most of you have probably never been. But once you nail the foundations, you never have to start over again. So I'm very excited about this. Girls, are we ready to jump into the deep end with this one?
Woo!
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Take it away.
So what we want you to know right off the hop is that the foundations phase is not just about changing your body, because I think that's another thing that women kind of come into this thinking that it's just about the body. It's actually changing your patterns because you can't transform your body until you transform the habits and the mindset that keep pulling you back to where you were. So it's where you build stability with structure, routines, habits, and the big one is your identity shifts.
Yeah.
You go from being a woman who is always on a diet to a woman who lives this fit life 365 days of the year. A lot of women know how to go all in, but they don't know how to stay in. Would you girls agree?
Yeah, this is exactly where I was too. And it takes awareness for that too. And I know we'll talk about that, but a lot of the time we don't even realize that this is the pattern that we have, that we're constantly trying to be great, but we don't want occasionally great. We want consistently good.
That's right. That's right.
So talk to us about these identity shifts and the habits.
Yes. Well, you might not realize that. And actually, if you've been listening to the podcast, you actually should realize this, because we've talked a lot about the brain, right? And how it loves predictability. So the more structure you give it, the easier habits are going to become, because you stop relying on willpower. It's not about that anymore. And you stop being that woman who asks yourself, like, oh, should I work out today? And you're more of like, well, this is just what I do. We talk about that identity shift of you just become a fit person. So in real life, in the foundations phase, our clients are building routines around meal prep, batch cooking, being consistent with workouts, scheduling them in, making all of these things a non-negotiable. And they create like a rhythm. There's like a daily and weekly rhythm that takes the decision fatigue away. And it's...
Sorry, I was just going to interject with something that I've noticed with actually a lot of my clients is that when they start out, we don't expect people to get this perfect. They build a lot of awareness. Like they start out, and then let's say this is a pretty common thing where, coach, I didn't get the meals eaten, I didn't get the workouts done. Why not? The day got away from me, or this came up. And it's like, right, but do you see how like these things came up, but you let them, like you didn't keep that block for yourself, and which is what this is all about. It's about like if you had a doctor's appointment, you wouldn't say, sorry, doc, had a lot of things come up, I'm not coming. You'd be like, well, I'm building my day around this. And that's what a lot of our clients realize, where it's like, wow, I really am thinking of this as just kind of like giving myself the crumbs, but I need to feed myself first here, literally and figuratively.
Yeah. And what I would add there too is like a lot of women that we see, they've also done some of this before. And sometimes that's almost a disservice, because you come with experience, and there's sometimes these blocks where it's like, oh, I followed macros before, or I already know how to do this. I already have the habits in place. And it's like, but you really don't. Because something is missing as to why you haven't gotten to the goal that you're looking to get to. So yeah, maybe you know a lot about macros. Maybe you know a lot about working out, but there's elements within that we need to go deeper and deeper into your foundation. It doesn't mean that we skip this stage. It just means we can maybe move more quickly. Yeah. But we still go through this phase with every single client. And I think that is a super important clarification, because you might be listening being like, oh man, I've done all this before. I am the habit queen. It's like, well, how much processed food are you eating? Are you actually working out? Do you know like your way around the gym at the level at which we would love you to get there? Like, tempo and your form, and how advanced really are you in the gym? We've done a great episode on that, which woke up a lot of people. And so the foundation isn't meant to be skipped if you are more advanced or have been through fat loss many times. You actually need to double down in this phase and really assess and be open. You don't have a proper foundation. Put your ego aside to be like, wait a second, my foundation is actually broken, even though I know a lot. So I really need to like open up here and get into it, because something is missing.
And that's why I love...
Really good point. Yeah, I was going to say like, sorry. I was going to say...
That's okay.
A lot of people who do have experience, sometimes when we kind of talk about this, they're like, I think I could skip that whole thing. And I'm like, right. But you just shared with me that you're like, your thing is not that you haven't lost weight. The foundation isn't about like, oh, I have no idea what a macro is, and I have no idea what a dumbbell is. It's more like, hey, a lot of these things that are my core habits have slipped. And, it's not that we ever, Mara, you said we're not ever going to come back here. That's true. But there are periods in your life where you need to recommit to your foundational stuff.
Yeah.
And you can't build on a rickety foundation. You'd be like, I have a lot of clients, very advanced. They know their way around the gym. They come back on active duty. And, one of my clients I'm thinking of, she's like, Tiana, I have put myself on the back burner. I do need to recommit to like batch cooking, scheduling that, ordering my groceries, eating whole foods, like putting the workouts in the calendar. And that's okay.
Yeah. And even the stage of life that you're in, like what your basics, how they served you when you were 20 or 30 or a first time mom, that's going to be different than when your kids are like in their 100%. Teens and you're now in perimenopause and people are moving out of your house, or you're taking care of other people on top of it. How you prioritize yourself and what you put first in that time frame is going to look really different.
It's true. And I want to come back to the house analogy, because if you think about it, right, like a mature home, there might be cracks in the foundation. So that's why I actually love that we use this term foundation, because you're absolutely right. For some people, it will be literally laying the first foundation that they ever have in their journey. But for other people, it's filling the gaps. It's filling the gaps that life has kind of created, or, whatever season of life they're in.
You need a renovation, girl.
That's what I was going to say.
Where we're
That's
at.
a good analogy. You buy a house, would you say like, oh, beautiful home. Yeah, there's this and that wrong. If you keep building on it, the home's going to
fall apart.
You'd be like,
Yeah.
okay, great. Let's step back and renovate. Let's get new floors.
That's
Let's
right.
do things better than the previous builder of the home did, right?
That's
So
right.
Exactly.
it's the same thing. I love that analogy.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we always want to make this tactical, and we could probably spend several episodes just on this foundations phase, but just to kind of leave you with a few things. And these are kind of our basics that we keep coming back to. One is about, your movement, your workouts. We really encourage you, schedule them, schedule things in your calendar, block that time, protect it, because that is what continues to build that foundation for you. Another one is set up a routine. We say like a weekend routine, but there was another episode we talked about. Actually, I had a client just reference it where it's like on a Friday.
That's my favorite.
Exactly. Like a lot of times people say like do it on a Sunday, but I agree, Jordan. I think like doing it before the weekend even starts.
The weekend is important.
Exactly.
I do it Thursday.
Thursday or Friday. I think that's brilliant. But essentially you're planning, what does next week look like? What days do I have commitments? Make fitness the focal point and shape your life around that. And third, we encourage you here in this phase, this is very important, track your habits, not just your weight, because a lot of women measure success solely on that scale. But here's also where you collect data about your habits, about your workouts, your protein, your hydration, your lifts, things like that, because all of this is the foundation of your success, not just the weight that you're going to lose. And even the three of us, like we've been working on our own health and fitness for quite some time, but we still practice these foundational skills. We still schedule our workouts. We plan our week, right? Like, I don't know if there's anything that you girls want to add that, that you do to kind of set those foundations every single week, every single month.
That Friday meeting is a non-negotiable for me. Like that is how I am literally successful going forward to each week, because it's when you pull forward things onto the weekend that you're like, next week's crazy. I need to pull forward a workout, or I need to do extra food prep, or I need to order my groceries this week, or, how you time things is going to be more important. What do you have to say no to in order to be able to prioritize yourself?
That's right.
That is a practice, and it doesn't go away just because you know how to do it. You have to keep doing it to make the progress happen over time, no matter how advanced you are.
Love that.
It's something I tell myself and I tell all my clients is 9 times out of 10, if you're not building the kind of momentum you want, it's because you haven't stayed true to these foundational habits, and myself included. Just the other day, look at that. I went way over my fats, way under my carbs, or whatever it is. Things got a little messy near the end. I went over my calories. Lo and behold, I didn't pre-log my meals the night before. And that's a simple thing, right? I know that if I don't stick to my routines that work for me, and that's okay because we're human, but I know that that's the reason. And you want to always use that as your North Star.
Yeah, I love that. That's really good. All right, T, I would love it now if we could kind of segue and go a little bit deeper in the foundations phase when it comes to training. So I want to kind of go there.
Oh yeah, I love this because Jordan, exactly what you said about, people saying, I already know my way around the gym. Okay, so this is one of my favorite quotes. If you think you're ripe, you'll rot. If you think you're green, you'll grow. So it's like you always have to be open and coachable, number one. Because I say this because the segue into this is like a lot of people say, I've done strength training before. And it's like, okay, great. You've been active for quite some time. What has that looked like? Has it been self-led? Largely, yes. Okay, was it personal training? Yeah, I got like 6 sessions in like 2001. Well, great. Like that's better than you haven't ever done anything before. You're not intimidated by the gym. That's fantastic. But you're still not spending your time right now in the most optimal way to lead to results. There's a huge difference between just sweating and training properly. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. And that's the shift that we make. Because a lot of people, if you have the consistency down packed, you're in a great position because your issue, not everyone's issue is motivation and consistency. Maybe you're consistent as heck, but like what you're consistent with is not the right strategy. So the thing we do here is we actually focus on like, are you doing the right exercises to shape the areas of the body you need to shape? Are you doing the right variation? Because there's a huge difference between like, I'm in my living room, doing squats with my baby, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. We see that on Instagram, but like you're trying to build muscle, like, okay, well, that's different than a barbell squat. Like we need to focus on like, are you getting full range of motion, full stretch? Oh, okay. Maybe your form is set up in a way that this is supposed to be a leg exercise, but it's now straining the lower back. And then you don't know what you don't know. So if you've just been doing self-guided, you're on a hamster wheel, you're in your head, you're doing the workouts in your living room, there's absolutely no feedback loop, then you're doing the wrong thing if you're not getting results for years and years. And that doesn't make you advanced. And yes, you're right, George, we should I want to reference that advanced episode that we talked about as well, that you're not as advanced as you think. But the real thing that we focus on here, the shift we make, is like not doing more, not spending more time, not working harder, but working smarter. And you just work harder in a different way. Like it's about the right lifts, having a program. That's a big thing. Because for a lot of people, they've been working out, but there's a huge difference between a la carte, like this today, this today. And like this is a sequence of exercises, skillfully selected exercises that is grouped together with a purpose. And I'm executing that with intention. And so it's not that, okay, we don't just say, okay, you're going to have these workouts, boohoo, like whatever. Anyone can have that, anywhere.
That's true. You're not wrong.
It is true. What? ChatGPT, give me a workout. Like, wow, that's fantastic. It's about how that fits into the big picture here. So that's what we do. And then we focus on like, okay, you're not only doing the thing, but you're doing the thing well. Like, oh, week 1, you did it. Great. Week 2, you're going to repeat it. You're not going to chase like, oh, I want to do a fun thing and get the burn. You're going to lift heavier and get a little bit better. And you're building more muscle memory. And then you're getting a little bit better. And then you're lifting even heavier. And then the next program, okay, now you're a little bit more advanced. Now we're going to focus on this thing. So it's a carefully selected inventory of exercise. It's not random. Would you girls add anything to that?
Yeah, I particularly want to reference the women who have worked with a lot of coaches before, because when you will initially get a program within our world, you might look at it and be like, this might look a little too easy, or this might look a little too short, or I've done this before. How is this different? And I think what the element that I would want to drive home here is the specificity of how we program, and making sure that the training isn't just like this one piece of like, oh, here's the training program. It's exactly what you said, T. It's the intention behind the lifts. It's doing as little as possible to elicit the most amount of change, leaving you more time for recovery, which is often overlooked in late 30s, 40s, 50s and beyond. And those things together with your nutrition is how we make the progress long term. And this is where we're looking at the foundation is still the foundation, but we have an eye to the 12 months, the 2 years, the 5 years from now. And this is just the first program. So just because you've done other things doesn't make you like skip this step of And I think I'm going to say that throughout this episode, because
you're not too advanced, girl.
You're never too advanced for foundations. Like if we're still doing it 20 years in, like you're still going to do it 5 or 10 years in, like end of story.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, honestly, be honest with yourself. Like if you're not looking in the mirror and saying, yep, I'm ripped Miss Olympia level here, then there's room to grow. Come on. Like it's obviously,
and
there's
she's
something
still
to
working
change.
on her tempo, Miss Olympia.
Right.
Okay.
That's right.
She's
Shout
humble
out
enough
to Miss Olympia.
Miss Olympia has a coach. And like,
that's right.
I heard someone say the other day, it's so funny. They're like, do you think Simone Biles like keeps winning the Olympics and saying, I don't need a coach anymore?
Yeah, that's right. I'm done.
I'm Simone Biles.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. So let's apply these tactical steps here. So the reality here is like, it's not what you do. More is not better. Better is better. So what we want to leave you with is you want to track your lifts over time at the bare minimum. It's a lot less about, people look for the fanciest variation of exercises and the coolest thing. A lot of the time you're not doing the basics heavy enough, or you don't have the right weight or the right form in those. So that's what you want to focus on first. You want to get that down, and then you want to track your lifts over time. So you're not doing a different squat or a different whole other routine every single week, or, oh, but I'm hitting legs and it's different. You're doing the same thing. You're not focused on novelty. If I want entertainment, I'm going to go and make popcorn and watch The Sopranos at night, which I do.
Yeah.
I'm not... Let me have so much fun in this leg workout and do a kickback to booty punch thing. Yeah. No, you're doing a squat and you're repeating that every week, and you're lifting heavier. And you need to focus on, you need feedback, number one. Okay. So this is really important. If you are not, maybe you even are a fitness professional, and we're still getting feedback, by the way, but like if you're not, and if you worked with a trainer once, like 10 years ago, and who knows what was done in that time, right? Like if you had 5 sessions, maybe you didn't even focus on the things that are relevant now. That's not enough. Like you need someone to give you feedback on your form and on how heavy you're lifting and whether what you're doing is actually leading to the change you want to see.
Exactly.
And by the way, our most successful students, I just spoke to someone yesterday who was like, oh, I don't think I need the form feedback because I've lifted. I'm like, no, our students who've been with us for 3+ years are still getting form feedback weekly. And it's not like, hey, help me teach me a squat from the ground up. I have no idea what I'm doing. It's not that. It's like, hey, what do you think? Is this enough range of motion? Hey, what do you think? Do you think that my feet are in the right positioning? Hey, like, do you think I'm holding this long enough? Is the weight heavy enough? Like, we have those kind of conversations.
Breathing as well.
How's your breathing? How's your mobility? How do we further customize your warm-ups to like support what you're doing? Are these combination of exercises still appropriate? Do we need to add something else because we're seeing weakness here or strength there?
Or
that's the level we get to.
You've had an injury or something's happened in your life where now, you know, changing the way you're doing that exercise is really important. So there's so many layers to that.
Yeah.
So many layers.
Your plan is dynamic. Exactly. And you're just not going to see the results you want from like a generic app. So this is a good time to mention that if you're listening to this and thinking, man, I didn't know what I didn't know. And now I realize that I don't have intention to my training and don't have intention to my eating. This is exactly what we help our clients with. And we make these things cohesive for you. So we remove that decision fatigue. So if this is something you're jiving with, then we would love to invite you to apply to work with us and get some detailed feedback and on your situation and what would look appropriate. So we're going to leave that in the show notes here. It's getsculpted.ca/contact. And we'll walk you through what actually building that foundation looks like. Really? So Jord, on that note, I'd love if you could lead us through the nutrition, because this is a really important piece of the puzzle.
This is huge because when we talk about building the foundation, our relationship with food is going to be very foundational, not just to how we lose weight, but how we fuel ourselves long term and how we ultimately are led into the second phase, which we'll talk about next episode. But this is such a critical component because when you're talking about weight loss, how you lose weight is determined by how you nourish yourself. How you look at that weight is determined by how you train. And so when we talk about nutrition, if you want to get the biggest bang for your buck in that first foundation phase, it's really taking a look at your nutrition to get you the first part of the way, the smoothest, right? So our goal here is really in this first phase to stabilize what is going on in your nutritional realm, okay? It's not about completely restricting. Had a conversation in the DMs not too long ago where, you know, someone genuinely, she listened to one of our episodes and was like, if I'm in a calorie deficit, doesn't that mean I'm still restricting foods? Doesn't that mean I still have to cut something out? And I thought this was such a great question because on one hand, you do have to have a more mature perspective. It's not a free for all just so that it fits in the macros. So there is a level of maturity you need to bring to being in fat loss and taking a look at the foundations of what your nutrition situation is looking like, because ultimately the changes need to happen. You can't keep doing the same thing to elicit a different result. You need to be able to be open to change and to redistribute how you're allocating those macros and then the quality of those macros.
You hit the nail on the head. And I love what you said earlier, Jord, about like, you can't just fill it with processed food, because I actually had a check-in with a client and I had a little bit of a like reality check, because I'm like, listen, this client in particular is advanced. And basically like, I feel comfortable having these conversations with her, but I said, hey, listen, right now, like you're having a lot of these snacky things and like you're hitting your macros, but like your energy is down, you're not digesting well, your fiber is extremely low. And like, it's not about a free for all for your macros. It's not about cutting foods out either, but by and large, we're still prioritizing those whole food, satisfying meals. And also, Jord, this is your zone of genius, but really learning hunger signals and satiety and learning how does that fit into calorie deficit. So it's much more than just, you know, I always say you can have the perfect macros, but that doesn't help you unless you have the right behaviors.
Yeah, you nailed it. Did you want to add something, Mar?
No, good. I'm listening.
Sorry.
No,
my bad.
I was going to, but it's okay.
We listen and we agree.
We agree. Yes, we're on the same page.
I concur.
And like from that eating psychology perspective, it really is about tuning into the fact that if you're going into a fat loss phase, which most people are in their foundation phase, it's really learning about tapping into those hunger and fullness cues, like you started to touch on, T. It's learning about how to nourish yourself instead of punishing yourself. And it's, you know, revisiting how you've bucketed foods over the number of decades. All of us lived through the 90s. Like, that was a scary time in nutrition where it was like zero fat, zero carbs, zero this, zero, like, can we make food be 0 calories and still eat as much as possible? And it's like, well, what did that do to our psyches and our hunger and fullness cues and our beliefs around total disconnection? And so this is about undoing a lot of these things that we've been, you know, believing for decades on end, and how to actually bring that into a healthier place so that you can then have the appropriate, we keep saying the word foundation, but the appropriate foundation to build upon so that you are finding balance with food, maybe for the first time in your life. You're eating enough to feel good and still hit your goals. You're able to move into a place where you can, at minimum, retain muscle, if not build it. And the number one thing I think we all hear when we talk to women is like, energy crashes are super real, especially in perimenopause. And when you're not nourishing yourself properly, either with enough food and or the better quality choices of food, and those energy dips are going to be even worse.
Exactly.
And so like, this is where I think we really want to drive home the point that fat loss is definitely not the finish line.
No.
It is the first step towards building the staircase towards maintaining the body that you want and the life that you ultimately want to live.
Agreed.
Yes, I love that, Jordan. This is what we always tell our clients is that your transformation begins when the fat loss phase wraps up, when you enter that empowerment phase. So of course you're going to want to listen to the next episode, but also remember that this is a phase, and like there is going to be some element of hunger, and that's normal, but we should make it manageable. And there is going to be an element of like more meticulously tracking your food, but it's not forever. And that's what we want to hammer home. And also we have a lot of conversations with our clients about what fat loss versus weight loss is, which we have an episode about that you should listen to, because a lot of people have unrealistic expectations of how fast they lose fat, and they expect that to last, which it never does. So we do it different.
And this is where that quick fix mindset can really work against you in this phase. If that is something that you've been a victim of for many, many years, this is where a lot of that undoing, that mental load that you've been carrying around, well, if it doesn't happen in the first couple of weeks, this is obviously not the right process for me. That's exactly why you need to be in this process, is to repair not just the mental, but the physical effects of how you've been trying to diet for the last 2 decades, you know?
Or more.
Or more.
Oh, yeah.
And so getting super tactical here, we want to think about in our foundations phase, portion awareness, being able to understand what an actual portion looks like for your proteins, fats, carbs, your veggies, your fruits, all of that. Really prioritizing your protein intake. We're looking for 25 to 35 grams of protein per meal, 3 to 4 times a day at minimum. We want to think about hydration in terms of the fact, like, you need water, girl. Like, if you're just living off of coffee multiple times a day and diet sodas and, electrolytes and stuff like that, like, you still need the basics of plain old water. Like, you need to get that into your system to be hydrated and to help flush things through your body and to actually detox what's going in and out of your system. And the last piece here is planning ahead. This is so important. And this is where I think I really want to reframe the element of being disciplined or having willpower to this is actually how you learn how to prioritize yourself, is planning ahead. And this is where you learn how to respect your needs and what your body is truly asking for. And what it's asking for is to be put first a little bit of the time in each and every day. And that comes into when and how you move, when you eat throughout the day, and actually taking a moment to have lunch instead of skipping through to your next meeting. So these are the things that we work on in the foundation phase of your nutrition. And it's a pretty important phase that we really love when our clients are open to being coachable in this phase, because they get the most out of it. I don't know, you girls, like, how satisfied are you when one of your clients is like, oh my gosh, it just clicked. It all clicked.
I love it.
It's the best.
Yes.
We actually talked about that on the momentum call we had this week. That's what we were talking. One of the things we talked about was that click where it happens. And for some people, like, it might be 3 months. For some people, it might be a year. We were also talking about everybody's trajectory is a little bit different. There's so many factors that go into it, but you brought up a good point about, like, it's learning and unlearning. So there's a lot of that goes on. So, don't be also tied to like a time frame. I think that's really important as well. We all come at this from different experiences, different places in our lives. So that's where also having like that skillful eye, helping oversee all this, like, we can help direct you in that way. So I think that's really important, but I love it. So as we wrap up today's episode, we want you to walk away understanding that foundations is where you stop trying to be good for just a few weeks. You start becoming the kind of woman who stays consistent no matter what life throws at you. Because like I said, when we start this episode, we know you've been living that pattern of going hard, burning out, feeling guilty, and starting over. But what if instead of blaming yourself every time that happens and thinking you're the problem, you stop and realize that maybe it's because you've never actually been shown what a foundation actually looks like to be able to stick to this. And that's what this foundations phase is for. This is where you're going to learn how to set up your environment, your food, your routines, your workouts, so you can finally rely on structure. And the big belief breaker, we've said it many times, I'm going to say it one more time as we close up. Fat loss is not the finish line. You do not hit a number, relax, and then stop. Fat loss is the foundation and the starting point that's going to launch you into keeping your results for life. So as you head into this week, we want you to reflect on this episode and think about it. Is there a foundational habit from our chat, whether it was in training, nutrition, or your overall, habits and routines that you can commit to? Start building your own foundation. And if this episode made you realize that, yeah, I've definitely been skipping this phase my entire fitness journey, you don't have to figure this out alone. We work with women on this exact thing every single day, and we have a few coaching spots opening up. So if you're ready to stop restarting and actually build a foundation that lasts, we would love for you to fill out an application. We read every single one, and we will personally help you through this phase. And as promised, in the next episode of our 3-part series, we're going to go even deeper and talk to you about what life is like on the other side of dieting. I would venture to say a place that most of you have never been. We're going to show you what it looks like, what it feels like to stop living in that dieting cycle and just start living like the fit woman that you are. So we can't wait to chat with you next week, and we hope you have a great rest of the day.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye-bye.